Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Good.
This would send a message, that it would send a message that no matter what you do as an abuse victim, you always have to do more. You need to be perfect in order for people to believe you if she did not get a favorable verdict. What message do you think this sends?
It's a horrible message. It's, as I said, a setback. It's a significant setback because that's exactly what it means. Unless you pull out your phone and you video your spouse or your significant other beating you, effectively, you won't be believed.
Or if you like take out video of him not beating you when he's in a rage, and even when you enrage him by videoing him, and then you sell it to TMZ, maybe you're not going to be believed.
I mean, Joe, I need a minute on this one. Like, here's the thing. Someone in the chat earlier wrote down something or sent something, and I wrote it down, pulled it over and wrote it down.
Okay.
Elaine is a waste of breath. And I was waiting for this particular part because she's not a waste of breath, because this actually needs to be spoken out against vehemently and strongly. What Elaine Bredehoff did here was she basically threatened. She used Amber Heard's case as a threat against all actual survivors of DV, SV, or DA. She implied improperly that no one's going to believe you unless you have the videos or photographs, etc. That is absolutely not freaking true. If you are a survivor of any DV, DA, SV, I don't care, any type of violence or abuse, your story, your words, that is enough. You are not Amber Heard. You are not Amber Heard. And do not let this absolutely gaslighting, vile human being make you feel like you need to create something or to add to your story to make it seem credible. Everything that she is saying, the scary thing about it is there's a part of it that's true, is that somehow there's going to be some victim out there who doesn't have the receipts, who doesn't have the photographs, who doesn't have the video, who's not going to come forward because they're afraid they're going to get sued. The problem is that Amber Heard is the one that told them that. Amber Heard, by her own example, is undermining every actual victim who is now a little bit more afraid to come forward. And I don't want them to be, and I don't think the law wants them to be any more afraid. Your experience is enough. It's enough. What you went through, don't add to it, don't take away from it, don't modify it. What you went through, that's enough. If you went through that act and you went through that abuse, there are people out there that can help you. And don't go and modify it. Go talk to an attorney. I mean, this hits me because I'm a domestic relations practitioner. I represent people on both sides, the accused and the people that actually are the victims of domestic violence. And this type of bullshit needs to be off of the screen. There is no better example that this human piece of refuse. I held out a lot for Elaine. I thought that she did a damn good job with the client she had until today, because this piece of refuse just went out and told all the real survivors, spit in their face, and said, your story isn't good enough. You need pictures. That's what she's saying right now. And that is not what the people should take from this case. This case is about someone who blew this out of proportion, blew all these allegations and created a mountain, and then set that as her own standard. That is not your standard. So to everyone who has survived, find help, get help. We still believe you. The court system still believes you, and you need to get out of that situation, and your story is enough as it is. I needed to do that because I have been fuming about this all day long, because what this woman got up and said today is probably the most disgusting thing I've ever heard a licensed attorney say to the broad public.
And I I applaud you for that remarkably well-stated objection to this disgusting diatribe from her. That in her efforts to promote her own client, she ignores the fact that everyone who saw her client step forward, that her client was not disbelieved because of a lack of evidence. Her client was disbelieved because of evidence. It was evidence that contradicted her. Tons of evidence that showed that she was completely full of crap. It's not that she didn't have enough pictures. It's not that she needed to have video of some of her abuser harming her. It's that she had to have, she couldn't have evidence that was showing that she herself was abusive. She couldn't have evidence that's showing that she herself was horrific to her spouse. She couldn't have audio evidence that showed how terrible she was. She couldn't have evidence which she's consistently submitting that, hey, this is what happened on March 15th, and this same picture is exactly what happened in April, a month later. She couldn't have evidence of consistently showing that everything she's saying is a lie. That's why you lost this case, Amber. That's why you lost this case on Lane, because you basically came forward and tried submitting bogus BS evidence and tried selling it to a jury while your client got up there and basically couldn't even scratch out one tear while talking about the most dramatic things in her life. You mentioned it earlier, Rob, when you were talking about how she addressed the jury in the most disgusting way possible. And she's talking about what's so intimate, so violent, so violated, and something that I've had genuine abuse survivors talk to me about in the most personal nature. And I've read off some of their stories right here on my channel. And when she talks about how it's so difficult for me to talk about this, and where most people, when they're sharing these intimate stories, these terrible, horrific, nightmarish stories, and they relive them in their minds, because that's what happens when you're on the witness stand. When you're on the witness stand, it's not something you're going into a memory that of what speech should I get. You sit there and you live it out in your mind. Whatever you're testifying about, you're thinking back what happened. And when you're thinking about something that's really personal, you know how you look? How anyone looks, if you're human, how any human looks, well, the way they look is like this, down. They look down, usually in one, like not straight down, but they'll sort of almost look off to the side. And they'll look off to the side and they start thinking about that horrific, terrible, awful event. That terrible violation where they felt personally violated, where they felt like they want to retch as they're thinking about it. You know what they don't do when they're reliving that in their brain? They don't do this the way Amber did. If it's such a horrific memory that brings you to tears, you don't sit there staring the jury in the face. And you know who can tell that that's weird? Any human. Everyone recognizes it. It's basic.